evening, boys and girls, and welcome to Power After Hours. Today's topic is going on in sports. This is basically about sports and life in general. So we're going to ask ourselves, what's going on in sports right now? I mean, other than the fact that the Buccaneers beat the Dallas Cowboys by 2 points yesterday.
More like the Cowboys beat themselves.
Yep.
We'll get into why in a minute.
Also, the Saints cut Latavius Bryant Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Apparently, there was a reason behind that cut. They asked him to take a salary. A loophole in the clause. If a player gets injured, then the team can't cut him. But if he gets back and he's healthy enough, then they would.
Yeah, and Latavius Murray is signed with the Ravens all because
of the Saints.
He decided not to take a pay cut that the Saints offered so they could, get the salary cap down. He refused to take a pay cut of what the team asked him to take. So he was unceremoniously cut from the Saints, and he signed with the Ravens because now the Ravens have 3 out of 4 running backs out for the year, and all with the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
J.K. Dobbins, problem. He's up for the season. Justice Hill, also with an ACL problem. He's out for the year. And earlier on, was it today or yesterday, we find out that while the Ravens are practicing on Wednesday, that their third back, Gus Edwards, has an ACL. He's done for the year. So right now, their backs that are right now, one is on the practice squad, one's on the roster, Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell. So the Ravens will have to work with 2 backs for a while.
Speaking of backs, guess who got rid of Cam Newton as of yesterday?
You mean floating the idea of Gideon?
No, they got rid of him.
Well, the Patriots got rid of him on last Monday.
No, yesterday.
Okay.
They cut him loose yesterday in favor of Mac Jones.
Well, actually, that was a couple of weeks ago because when the preseason ended, the rumor, which was actually true, it was about 10 o'clock on Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
When actually Tuesday morning, when they were getting their rosters down to the best 53.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Newton on that Tuesday morning at 10:15 got cut.
Yeah.
And Sports Center at 10:30 on the radio said that Cam Newton was officially cut by the Pats, and Mac Jones is the starter.
Mm-hmm. Now,
so,
like we said, like the topic of this one is what's going on in sports. There's a lot of things going on besides roster cuts. There's been, remember, if you have listened to our last set of pods, we were talking about off-field behavior and antics that will cost them their careers.
Yep, Cam Newton getting tested at an outside location instead of going to the Patriots facility cost him a chance to actually stay on the Patriots.
And you'll also remember me reading off of Twitter a letter sent to Mr. Isaiah Washington from the Buffalo Bills organization about constantly not wearing a mask.
And let me see, and let's not also forget if Minnesota had a better quarterback option, Kirk Cousins would be cut.
Yeah.
But Kirk Cousins is the only QB option because Kellen Mond is not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
But Kellen Mond is the future of that team.
Mm-hmm.
If he actually decides to actually, do what he's supposed to do.
Speaking of the future of the team, the new future of the Houston Texans football team is Tyrod Taylor.
Well, actually, let's back up a little bit. He is a placeholder. Let's keep that in mind. The guy that's going to be the QB eventually of that team was drafted in this year's draft. Davis Mills.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be shocked if Davis Mills is not on the field for the Texans sooner rather than later. I'd say about week 4.
Yeah. And the Texans had got rid of Deshaun Watson.
No, they've not. No. He's not getting rid of yet.
Oh, yes, they did. They got rid of him already. They got rid of him weeks ago.
Actually, if I heard correctly, nothing has been done because the league is still investigating and those cases are still pending. So right now, nobody can do anything. The only thing they can do right now is put him on the non-paid commissioners exempt list. Which means if he wants to play, the league can say, no. You're going to go on the commissioners exempt list and not play. We're basically telling you, go away.
And that's exactly what he did.
So, that's where we are on that front, and I have not heard any more news on those cases yet. So, the league's still investigating it. Everybody's still investigating it. So, that's way up in the air.
That's true.
So, right now, the Texans can't do anything. The Dolphins and the Dolphins want to try to make a move, but right now, they can't. Basically, right now, until these cases get resolved and the league gets done with their investigation, nobody can do anything.
Uh-oh. It looks like Memphis has gotten their wish. The Memphis Grizzlies are getting back their tallest center.
And
They'll be Mark Gasol, Pal's baby brother.
And what else can I... Oh, yeah. Houston Texans traded Bradley Roby. They traded Bradley Roby for, what was it? I think that was today or yesterday or something.
Mm-hmm.
They traded Bradley Roby to cut cost on the cap. It was like 9-point-something million on the cap.
But here's the thing. Why don't the other teams take the Titans route? Right now, the Titans have $11.5 million to spare because of strategic things they did. Julio Jones agreed to a pay cut.
Yeah. But keep in mind, Julio Jones wanted out of Atlanta. He only agreed to the pay. He agreed to the pay cut because he wanted out. He didn't want to stay at a sinking ship where they're literally rebuilding from the ground up.
Yep.
He doesn't want to stay there.
And this Sunday, Ryan Tannehill and the Titans take on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals Sunday.
We'll get to our picks of the games since Thursday's in the can already. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. But first, let's bring up the game last night.
Oh, Lordy.
Now, 4 turnovers by the Bucs. Yeah, we know. It's rust. Yeah. We know that. But I'm going to go back to something that was talked about this morning on Scott and Hahn this morning on Bart and Hahn, that really got under my skin and really was a burr to my saddle with this Dallas Cowboy team the last 5 years.
It looks like the Big 12's got 4 new teams joining them this season.
Yeah, they did. They got
BYU.
They poached they basically took from the American and got BYU from the Independent.
Oh, shoot. Now the Cowboys is going to be without their offensive tackle, La'el Collins, for the next 5 games.
Well, keep in mind, Zach Martin was already out.
Yeah, but Collins has been suspended.
Suspended?
Suspended for 5 games.
What did he?
I think it occurred during last night's game.
Oh wow! I must have missed that because I didn't see anything.
It's on ESPN, and Curtis Samuel for the Washington football team is on IR. Oh, now there's a reason why that Collins got suspended for 5 games, and it's always a particular problem with athletes these days who can't keep themselves clean.
Now, before we get to that, I want to back up to the one thing the Cowboys should have been able to do, but without Zach Martin and Lionel Collins last night, because Lionel Collins was
garbage.
Was it? Yeah, he was in close contact, so contact tracing he couldn't play. So they were down 2 offensive linemen last night. You can't ask your quarterback to drop back 58 times and think he's going to be able to hold up all season. They ran 70 plays. No, 71 plays. No, 70. Out of 70 plays, it was 5-1 pass to run. Take a guess how many times Dallas ran the football last night.
I don't even want to know because I turned it off after the first quarter. It was embarrassing.
Yes.
I don't want to.
It was 5-1 pass to run.
Hence why it was embarrassing to watch. Now Dak Prescott knew better.
42 of 58 for 403. Now, you would think that's fine. 42 completions. If you flip that around and add those 16-9 dropbacks that were incompletions and throw that to a run,
they would have won.
I would understand 48-20. I would understand 42-20 and run pass because that's more 2-1 pass to run. But when you go 5-1, 58-12, 4.5-1, almost 4.6-1 was a pass run. Every 4.6 times dropping every 4.6 plays he was dropping the throw. Now seriously, I don't know about you.
I mean, like you said, that game had more mistakes than a high school game.
Both teams had mistakes.
Speaking of tonight's game of the week, Pearl Cone and Ravenwood, Pearl Cone and Creekwood. And it looks like Pearl Cone is putting on a clinic.
They've done pretty good.
Of course they have. Because there is actually 2 boys that's on that. There's 2 boys on that team that I know. And I know these 2 little boys very well since they were small. They used to play football back in Nashville in the Pop Warner days. Now they're playing high school ball. One's a sophomore, one's now a true freshman. They both are on the varsity squad. If you don't know who I'm talking about, if you watch several of the high school football games in Nashville, you'll learn the names of Brandon and Markel Jackson. Those 2 boys. And folks, let's just say, even high school athletes and some college athletes have the tendency to know where to go, where the ball's thrown, hold on to the ball, maintain their blocking assignments, do their run assignments, and passing assignments. There's no reason that grown men in their 30s and 40s should be messing up like this. No reason. None.
Not me, but unfortunately they do.
Now, like I said, what was going on in sports. I don't mean sports today. I mean sports in general. Now, like I said, going back to the last several podcasts that we talked about a young man who rash decision cost him his entire high school year and ruined his high school career before he even got to college because of a bullheaded mistake that he did. And if many of you have watched it on YouTube or Facebook, y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Texas high school football game from last year. And the hit heard around the world as shock and disbelief. Now, since today is Friday night, it also happens to be my 20th class reunion. I could have been at the high school football game, but I chose not to go. It's my school's 20th reunion. And it's the first time that my alma mater is playing with a brand new name for their mascot. And it's also the first time for first year coach Alex Helton. And now he took over from former Franklin High football coach Andrew Tomlinson, who happens to be a good friend of mine. And also, they were dealt with a blow earlier this year. Around this past July, they lost their senior linebacker, Will Cherry, to COVID. Folks, like we said before, COVID's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah,
but this young man had his whole future ahead of him, and he just died this past summer.
And tonight, the Maplewood John Overton game, due to virus going around the campus, has been postponed. And the only date I can see that game being made up will be October 15th. If John Overton has a bye week
well, and if you also didn't have to notice that several high school football teams in Tennessee, they're playing out of state. They're not playing in Tennessee. They're playing in Kentucky and Mississippi. There was some teams who were playing this week to make up for their games that got postponed last week.
And the Waverly game against White House is going to be played here at Nissan Stadium. I think the 17th. I think
the 17th.
Yeah, I saw it somewhere where they're going to play their game here. Kickoff's the same time. I think it's going to be a fundraiser game for the folks.
Yep, next Friday the 17th.
I believe that's the case. I think if I'm right, if I saw it.
Good God. And Pearl Coast offensive lineman needs a tighter pair of pants to keep up on his butt. Because right now he almost let loose a big full moon on national television. And that would not be a sight to see, folks. It would not. That would be embarrassing to him, the school, and everybody watching at home. To me, it'll scare the hell out of me. Because I don't want to see a really, really big dude losing his britches trying to tackle somebody. That's just wrong. They could have given him a bigger pair of pants to pull over his waist. Instead, nobody don't want to see butt crack. I don't. Which brings me up to another point. Every team in general, if you're high school, college, or the pros, make sure you have a belt on your pants and make sure that nobody pulls on your pants. You don't want to let it loose. You don't want to have a loose moan. Chris Johnson.
No.
Chris Johnson.
No.
Yes, he did. That is on YouTube, and it's circling around YouTube as a come on, man, because he let loose a loose moon after somebody don't tackle him by his pants, and they came down off his butt on national television. Nobody wants to see that.
No. Of course nobody wants to see that.
No, thank you. Oh, Lord, and Pearl Coast number 74 is back in.
And apparently, good God Almighty, I have to pray for this little guy. That's not healthy for him. And looking at him, he looks like he outweighs me. He looks like he outweighs me. All over. The only difference is I will be able to keep my pants up around my butt.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't. He needs a bigger jersey and a bigger pair of pants.
Well, yeah.
Because if you're watching the game of the week, you will see what I'm talking about. That's a travesty. I don't know. I don't even know what line his mama don't told, but that boy do not wear a 2X.
Nah, he don't wear no 2X.
Nah, he needs a 5X and a jersey and a 6X and a pair of pants. Sweet merciful Jesus.
Shall we hit the games for college on Saturday and for Sunday to close up shop?
Of course.
Yeah,
For one of the games, it's a game of the Pac-12. It's a game of the Big 12 SEC showdown between Texas A&M Aggies taking on the Colorado Buffaloes. And that's this.
Interesting. That could be interesting, but I think Aggies will win that. But the game that I'm really looking forward to watching is Ohio State Oregon tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Central Time tomorrow morning.
All right. Let's see. And tomorrow is the start of the college game. Tomorrow's college games. Looking at it, the Pittsburgh Panthers are coming right here to Knoxville to Old Rocky Top at 11 o'clock in the morning to take on the UT Volunteers.
But there's two games before that kickoff.
No, that kickoff is at 10 a.m.
Yeah, the Illinois game's at 10.
Not on ESPN.
And the Western Kentucky Army game will kick off a half hour after that at 10:30.
Then there's the Miami, Ohio Redhawks and the Golden Gophers game. Both of these teams are 0-1 because they played last week and they both lost.
Minnesota.
And it's the battle of the Carolinas once again.
South Carolina should win that game. Keyword should.
That doesn't mean they would. Then there's the California TCU game at 2:30. Everybody can see what the Golden Bears will have up against the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs.
Yeah, well, you know what a Coach Gary Patterson's team's going to bring you. Hard-nosed, tough, bully football.
Then it's UAB versus Georgia up at 2:30.
Well, we'll see what Georgia. Let's see if Georgia can actually dominate a game after they picked up a big win defensively last week.
Yeah, the Tulsa Oklahoma State game is at 11:30 on Fox Sports 1. Same thing for Ball State and Penn State.
Look, Penn State would not be 1-0 Wisconsin to make all those mistakes.
Yeah,
Wisconsin, look, come back and win the division.
Also on AC, the afternoon game of the week is the Florida Gators versus the South Florida Bulls.
And Florida should win that one until the following week.
Oregon and Ohio State at 11 a.m. on Channel 17.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the games going around at 11 a.m. on the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And Iowa State is the primetime game at 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the Washington, Michigan game at 7 o'clock. That's the Saturday night primetime game.
We'll see how Washington does in prime time after Gag against Montana.
Yep. And the Aggies and the Buffaloes facing off at 2:30 on Saturday. Now for Sunday's game. And one of the games that everybody's looking at is the Titans versus the Cardinals. Now, on the Titans side of the ball, you got Ryan Tannehill, who
is coming off of what would be arguably his best season of the year. Despite the fact that Baltimore decided to throw a tyrannical shitstorm and disrespect the Titans on their field. The days of Ray Lewis and Eddie George. Now, if you may remember Eddie George or Ray Lewis, the reason why he ain't playing no more happens to be the fact of a criminal record that he now has attached to his name. Even though he's been clear, it's still attached to his name.
Yep, it is. But can the Titans find a way to keep Kyler Murray contained in the pocket?
And deal with DeAndre Hopkins too. And also new Cardinal acquisition, J.J. Watt on defense.
We know about DeAndre Hopkins. We know about him.
So here's the other thing. And Henry.
Well, here's the thing. It's called the blocking is going to have to be on point, because if you don't block,
Lord have mercy. That's not right. I'm looking at this game right now. It's Creekwood versus Pearl Cone, and the defensive end for Creekwood looks like a grown man. The guy is 7'2".
he can't go 7'2". There's no way.
He is.
There's no way.
He's taller than the rest of the defensive line on his team. He's the tallest player among his teammates. This dude is tall.
He's a big boy. I mean, what else can you say?
He's a grown man with facial hair. He ain't.
Not the facial hair. Oh Lord, no, not the facial hair.
Yes, the facial hair, honey. I see through that face mask of his helmet. He got facial hair.
Oh
Lord have mercy, Jesus. And it goes back to what the comedian Michael Collier said about food.
Look, how do you?
It goes back to what Michael Collier said about how teenagers, especially boys, growing up with bases in their voice, their testicles dropping their hair all over the place. Because the pigs and cows, they make them bigger, make them beefier, so you buy them by the pound. And apparently this dude looks like he don't eat about 5 dang pigs a day. This dude is humongous. And the game is finally over. The game is over. Pearl Cone won 35-0. Yeah. Even though their defensive back was wandering it all outside, at least he's a kid and not a jacked up dude. Let's just hope the guy he didn't sit on anybody either. I'm sorry we can't make fun of people, but I didn't mean to. But God Almighty, folks, what you think, kids? It should not be. I'm going to bring you a little feel-good story that I watched on YouTube. This is a 13-year-old boy in Mexico. It's what happened to him 3 years ago. You wouldn't believe how much he weighed 3 years ago. 462 pounds. He couldn't go to school. He couldn't play sports. All he did was eat. Until one day, his uncle came and saw him, brought him a jersey. They had to get him a custom-made jersey that kind of looked like a pillowcase. And when he saw that, he just cried. He cried. And he pushed away from the table, didn't eat, told his parents, I need to go to the hospital. The doctors had diagnosed him as being morbidly obese, that he wouldn't live to 12 years old. This was a kid who was 10 years old, and it was told that if he don't stop doing what he was doing, he'll die in 2 years. So he pushed himself away from the table, put him on strict diet and exercise, and when he did that, he dropped down a whopping 238 pounds after he had the surgery. Because the doctors also feared he wouldn't survive that surgery. But he survived that 5-hour surgery, and since then, he was working out, eating right, and he dropped down 263 pounds and dropped 33 more pounds to boot. Now this kid is in middle school in Mexico. He's playing soccer and football and exercising with his uncle. And he got his uncle to think. And he said that without his uncle helping him out and motivating him, he would have died at 10 years old. That, folks, is not tough love. It shows what familiar love is. That's when a family member loves you so much that you want to change, not for just yourself, but for them as well. Instead of putting yourself first, put them first. And think, what would happen if I died of something wrong?
Of something silly that you can control.
Yeah. For this little kid, his name is Aria, by the way. His case was putting down the fork. He managed to put down when his uncle said what he saw him, what he looked like at the age of 10, terrified him. It scared that man on to the point that this little kid do what most people who outweigh anybody else wouldn't do. Put down the fork and push yourself away from the table. Now, yeah, he made a grown-up decision at 10 years old.
Yeah, we're gonna make grown-up decisions, but they never will.
Yeah, but this little boy made a grown-up decision about his health. Something that most parents should make for their kids. At any rate, if their weight get that out dangerously high. I mean, if he didn't, not only was he dealing with morbidly obesity, he would have had heart problems, high blood pressure, cholesterol problems, gout, diabetes.
You got all there.
And because of that, he dodged a massive bullet. A real massive bullet. And the Pearl Cone Firebirds are this night's My TV 30 Friday Night Lights trophy winners tonight. So they got that. Yeah, they got that trophy in the trophy case. They were all the way to Creekwood. They were at Creekwood High School. Now, folks, you have to, if you want to be a big person, but you gotta have to maintain a healthy weight. Which goes to show you, you gotta change the way you eat, which is what the Mountain Dew Mixify campaign was all about.
We're trying to close it.
Mm-hmm.
Or chew through it half.
Mm-hmm. When Mountain Dew came out with the Mixify campaign, the three things they say: eat, drink, and do. You gotta watch what you eat. You gotta watch what you drink and balance it out with what you do. So if you eat a salad and drink green tea, to finish out the equation, you have to do an activity and balance it out. That's how healthy it is. Remember when I talked about the player from Creekwood looking like a grown man?
Yeah, what about him?
Pearl Coast number 44. He looked like a grown man.
Okay.
Yeah, and after he just took off his mask, I see the facial hair. This kid's got mutton chops. He got mutton chops. So, folks, when you feed your kid something, ask yourself, what am I really feeding my kid? Because pretty soon they're going to drop the bass in their voice, and everything on them will just drop too.
I had McDonald's. What you doing?
Okay. Yeah, and folks, we're going to close this up. Join us next week where we can talk about what's going on in sports or some of the games of the week that we just named and recap those. We'll see you next time. And good night.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.